Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. We're going to wait a few more minutes to start right at 9, but I just wanted to welcome everyone who arrived a bit early. Um, Before we get started, just to let you know, we will be answering questions at the end of the webinar. So if you have any questions that come up throughout, you can write them down, if you have any questions, make sure to put it in the question panel. So there should be a drop-down menu on your control panel that says questions, and you can just write and submit any questions you have anytime during the webinar, and they'll appear there. So that at the end of the webinar, I'll read through them and try to answer as many as we can.
Hey, I'm here. Can y'all hear me?
Oh, hey, Steph. Just wanted to, I responded when you initially came on, but I forgot I was on mute. So we could hear you just fine and your audio is clear. And we are live. Sorry.
Wonderful.
All right, so it's 9 a.m. and we're going to get started. For everyone here who joined early. So before we get started, a reminder that if you have any questions throughout the webinar, you can submit them using the question panel, question drop-down menu in your control panel. At the end of the webinar, we'll go through all the questions that have been submitted and answer as many as we can. All right, so today's presenters are myself, Kylie Morgan from Plug-in America, and I manage our National Drive Electric Week and Drive Electric Earth Day campaigns on the Plug-in America side. And then Steph, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Steph Larson. I'm the Senior Online Organizer for Clean Transportation at Sierra Club.
Awesome, and then we also have my colleague Noah Barnes. Noah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Noah Barnes. I am the Director of Communications and Individual Giving for Plug-in America.
Awesome, thanks so much. And so we all have, some experience in marketing or promotion, and so that's what we're hoping to bring you here today. All right, so promoting your event, first steps. Before you get out there and start, telling everyone you know about your event, it's important to set up your Drive Electric Earth Day online event page first. So, make sure it has a date, time, location, and event description. If you don't have, say, the date, time, or location confirmed, at the very least, definitely put a really detailed event description that says what you plan to have at the event, says you're still looking for a location, just really make people feel comfortable about RSVPing, or just let them know that they can register to attend, and then you'll send them updates as you finalize details. Another important feature is the contacting attendees feature. So when you set this up, you can then request attendee email addresses, and this would appear as a checkbox when people RSVP. They can opt in to join whatever group that you put in the contacting attendees form. Next, you'll want to decide if you want to ask attendees to share their experience or show their EV. If you already have a core group of volunteers, you can make sure the RSVP form does not ask people if they want to share their experience or show their EV. So you want to make sure to set that up beforehand. Also explore the other features of your online event page. This will make it a lot easier when you get closer to the event and maybe have last-minute details to deal with. We do have a messaging feature so that you can message all of your attendees as well as specific groups of attendees. Finally, we got this suggestion from a city captain, Jim McCarthy, who does the Diamond Bar event, and he said it might be useful to have a downloadable flyer, an easy-to-use map, nearby charging stations, and parking instructions in your event description. If you have a downloadable flyer, then other people who want to support you may be able to help spread the word. All right. So next, I'm going to pass it over. I'm going to pass it over to Steph. You want to take it away?
Sure. Thank you, Kylie. So yeah, there are tons of ways, exciting ways to promote your event to your community. And I'll add that, as you're promoting your event, think about some of the people who you might reasonably assume would be most interested and where those people exist, what kind of media they consume, what kind of social media they consume, where they are on social media, and really put yourself in the position of who you're speaking to, right? Kind of like have images of your mind of those people, because so often we say, oh, well, I want everyone to come. Well, everyone isn't necessarily interested in your event, and everybody has so much information coming at them all the time, especially on social media, that you really have to try and target who you're looking for. And that's also true for radio, newspaper, any kind of ads that you want to put out there, like where, the people that you are listening, or the people that you are trying to reach out to, are they listening to NPR? Are they listening to Fox News? Are they reading, this local paper or that local paper? Try and think about those relevant audiences when promoting your event. Lots of good ideas in the slide about, posting flyers, city event calendars, ask around, ask your neighbors and friends. If you're looking for things to do, where do you get that information, and then post there. Next slide. Also good ideas, if there are other folks interested in sustainability, environmental blogs, don't discount the muscle car folks. I will say that too. I've started to realize that folks who are really interested in cars, some folks who are really interested in cars, are starting to realize how powerful electric cars are. And if you can get one or two of them, you can kind of get an inroad into that community. Absolutely always send them to your Drive Electric Earth Day event page, so that they can be receiving all of the information that will come after that from Drive Electric Earth Day. lots of folks are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So you try to figure out, again, where the people who you are wanting to reach are, what hash in terms of Twitter. Well, each of these social media ideas or platforms have different ways of working, different contents. I would say play to your strengths. If you are not a Facebook user, but you're a tweeter, you know, find somebody else who's on Facebook a lot and have them post the content that you want, because they're going to have a better sense of what that, you know, what that platform is going to require. You know, like, for example, myself, I'm not on Instagram. I don't really understand yet how it works and how to make best use of that tool. So I'm not going to use it until I am on Instagram and have practiced, right? Like, you're not going to grab a enormous expensive power tool if you've never used it before and then try and build a house with it. You might build a doghouse first. So if you're on Facebook and you have a group with followers, that's a great place to put an event and a post. I typically will say that, you know, Facebook events are good. You also do want to try and get people to RSVP and not just on the Facebook event page, because you can never contact the people in a group on a Facebook event page in the same way that you can once they've RSVP'd. So that's something to keep in mind. If there's a particular event that going on at your Drive Electric Earth Day event that you want people who can't be there in person to know about, Facebook Live is something that you can try to use. And I'm happy to talk to people individually if that's a tool that you want to use. Keep in mind, Facebook Live, people who watch Facebook Lives are looking for someone who's going to talk at them, like talk directly to the camera, and you want it to be something that's interesting live, because people might come in a couple minutes in, and if they don't know what's going on, they're going to leave immediately. It's also nice to have two people going on Facebook Live so that, like, one person can be like the on-camera presence and someone else can be like watching the comments as they come in. Live tweeting is another thing that you can do. That's just like, you know, you're at an event and you're generating content. When you're tweeting, make sure to use hashtags, because that's how people who don't follow you will still see stuff that you're tweeting. Next slide. And I'm handing it over to Noah.
Right. Yeah, thanks so much, Steph.
So this is Noah.
Okay.
This is Noah. I'm going to talk very briefly about paid social media advertising. This is something we've been doing more and more at Plugin America, and it's a great way to reach more people beyond the circles that are already connected to you or your organization or your group. You can spend a relatively little amount of money and actually reach a lot of people. So for example, you know, a recent ad that we ran, we only spent $100, but we reached 10,000 people with that ad. And what's also nice about Facebook advertising is that you can not only target people in your area, so you can say you only want people who live within 10 miles or 20 miles of your city to see this, but you can also target people who are interested in either in electric vehicles themselves or related interests like environmentalism, technology, cars. There are a lot of different options, and I encourage you to sort of play with those advertising tools as you put in kind of who you want to reach and how much money you want to spend and such. There are little charts that will show you, you know, for this amount of money, you'll reach this number of people per day, for example. We also, you know, as Steph said, definitely encourage people to RSVP on your Deed event page. again, you really want to push that so that so that you have the option of contacting those people again in the future, and they have the option of opting into receiving information from Sierra Club and Plug in America if they want to stay involved after the event. And as always, we encourage you to use the hashtag DEED2020. That's our standard hashtag for DEED. But of course, you're also, in addition, welcome to create your own hashtags for your own city or your own event. So with that, I will hand it back to Kylie.
Actually, one more thing I'd like to plug about paid social media advertising, which is that you can create what's called a lookalike list. This is like, probably paid social media advertising 3.0, but if for example you have a list of people who RSVP'd last year, you can target them specifically on social media again, as well as use that list to create what's called a lookalike list. And I don't actually know the mechanisms of how you would do that here. That's probably something to talk to Kylie about. But that lookalike list means that people who have similar attributes to the people who RSVP'd would also see your paid advertisement. So it's really kind of targeting people who are most likely to be interested.
Absolutely. And actually,
Awesome.
One other thing that I'll mention is that if you're doing an event at a workplace, you can also target employees of a certain company, for example. So there are a wide variety of tools that you can look for. If you're doing an event on, the campus of a major employer, you can target, anyone who works for that employer within 20 miles or so. So that's another helpful tool for those workplace events.
Awesome, thanks. And Noah, I know we've also kind of had some experience with what photos work best with paid social media. I don't know if you're able to talk about that a bit.
Yeah, photos of people are great. I think people connect more with photos of smiling, happy people. Sometimes with events, a lot of the photos that you might capture are sort of big wide shots of kind of people with their backs to people looking at cars with their backs to the camera, things like that. To whatever extent you can include happy people, that's really beneficial. I also recommend in the text of your ads, keep in mind that not everybody is completely familiar with electric vehicles. So, including a line about why electric vehicles are great or why you like electric vehicles is helpful. You can say something like, electric vehicles are great for the environment and they're really fun to drive. Come learn more at our Drive Electric Earth Day event in Pleasantville. And again, of course, always encouraging people to RSVP as well.
Awesome, thanks so much. And another note on the photos is you want to make sure to use a photo that doesn't have lots of text on it, because Facebook would actually give you a notification if your photo has too much text to be an ad. But just in general, the less text you can use, the better in your actual photo. All right. So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about our social media guide. So there's a link to it here. The slides will be posted on the Drive Electric Earth Day website after this webinar. But you can also find the social media guide on the website now. And it goes over hashtags to use in your posts, like DEED2020, hashtag Drive Electric, and hashtag location name. One thing we do encourage is always using hashtag DEED2020 and hashtag Drive Electric, because the more people, events all over the US who are using that, the bigger presence it'll have on social media. Also, if you tag us, we'll help amplify your post and promote your event. You also want to make sure your post is public when you're posting it, especially if you're posting from a personal account that normally only goes to friends. Also, we'll be adding sample images soon that you'll be able to download and use in paid social media ads or just in your general promotion. You can also email me if you'd like them a little sooner. And feel free to check out our complete social media guide for posting instructions, sample text, and links. So we have links to all the different national organizers, Sierra Club, Plug-in America, and Electric Auto Association. We also have sample posts you can use, like little facts about EVs, like, there's 40 plus models on the market right now. Check out our event to learn more. So kind of sample text like that you can use. Also, we do have Drive Electric Earth Day logo files on the resources page, so you can download those and use those in any image you're creating. All right, so other marketing tips. We will be sending out press contacts via email to everyone who has an event registered on the website. So if you don't already, be sure to register your EV event on driveelectricearthday.org. We also have a template for contacting the media on our resources page, which you can download. One thing to note is that even though media may initially confirm they can cover your event, they may change their plans to accommodate other breaking news. Definitely don't take it personally. It's just their business. They have to cover the leading news that day. So strategies for securing media at your event really focus on what makes your event unique. So electric vehicles are definitely one thing that will make your event unique, but there may be something else. So, you may be offering test drives in electric vehicles and not just showing them off. Maybe you have a prominent speaker or, an influencer who's attending. You may also have a fun activity like, if you pair with something like an animal farm, for example, or something that would be really fun for kids that would draw lots of families to your event. Also, it's good to connect state and local efforts. So if there's a charging station that was just opened in your town, you can talk to the city about having them have a booth at your event, try to do the event around that charging station. And that would be a great strategy for securing media, because you can pitch it to media as an event that's celebrating this step forward for electric vehicles in your city. And be sure to share compelling stories. So if you, for example, have a story about someone who maybe switched to an EV and because of that has saved lots of money every month and been able to support their kids in some new way, that's a really compelling story that pulls on the heartstrings, and that's something that will get the media's attention. So when to invite media to your event? 1 week before the event is good. You can send out a media advisory to your local news stations, and we do have a template for that on the resources page. And then 1 to 2 days before the event, you can call your local news outlets to remind them. And then on the day of the event, give them a call again to remind them, but also send a press release after the event of how the event went. So even if you don't get any media at your event, you can still send them a press release after the fact, and they may cover it then. It's also really important to leverage a larger event that you're part of. So you want to work with them and make sure that the EV showcase is included in their marketing. And the best way to do this is just make it as easy as possible for them. So provide graphics and text that they can use. You can create a web-based flyer with a link and an intro paragraph. Also, if you'd like a flyer template, we do have a very basic one on the resources page, but you can also email me if you'd like something a little more visually appealing. Also, maybe provide an article that they can include in their membership newsletter. So if you have someone in your group who's a comfortable writer, they can write something up about the event and the benefits of EVs. If possible, it's always good to connect electric vehicles to something specific to your city. So if your city is dealing with a lot of pollution, then talk about how EVs are a great solution to reducing pollution in your area. And if you don't have anyone in your group who's comfortable writing an article, you can definitely check out the Plug in America website, and I'm sure Sierra Club's website, and find a relevant article about EVs that you may be able to use in the newsletter and kind of connect back to your event. Also, offer to attend or speak at a partner's meeting. So if they're having a meeting with potential sponsors or partners at the event, ask to say a few words about the EV showcase, and that might interest people, and just let them know you're there, and they may have other ideas about how to promote the EV showcase. Also, you can create your own postcard to be sent out in emails. One resource we really recommend is canva.com. Canva has a lot of beautiful templates for flyers, postcards, even social media posts, and it's free. And so you can customize all the templates to fit your event, and then download them as a PDF or an image. Finally, if you're with a larger event, it's really important to promote the full event beyond the EV showcase. So, as Steph mentioned, not everyone is interested in EVs. So if there's other interesting things at the event, promote that, and, promote those as well when directing people to your online event page. And it will also help attract EV volunteers. If you promote something else that's going on at the event and direct them to your online event page, they may become more interested in the EV aspects and offer to volunteer. All right, so corporate or workplace events. With these, it's really important to use their internal communications. So if they have a sustainability team or a human resource department or a newsletter, ask to provide some text that will go out to their employees, before the event. Also, they may have some EV owners that would like to join your event, and then, that widens your network of people who are helping to promote the event. Also, you can gather information on the company's EV infrastructure. If they're planning on doing any charging stations, or if they already have some, it might be you can highlight that. And when you're reaching out to media, you can kind of highlight how maybe this company is supporting green efforts, and the charging station is just one part of it. In the communications, you should definitely ask employees to bring a driver's license if you're planning a test drive event. And you can also offer an EV-related talk or presentation before the event. So again, these are just ways to really get in front of people who would attend your event, talk to them about EVs before they come, so they feel more comfortable and interested in showing up. All right, so day of the event. If you're part of a larger event, don't assume that people will be able to find you. I'm sure there will be lots of other activities competing for their attention. So you'll want to post signs about your showcase, along with any incentives to get people there. So even if you're not doing test drives, maybe do raffles for lunch voucher, or like USB memory sticks on the hour, and just for anyone who shows up and submits for the raffle. That'll get people to come to your area and check out the EVs. Another great strategy is having volunteers walk through the event, telling people about the showcase. Even if you don't, have postcards printed, just having volunteers walk around and point attendees in the direction of the showcase will help. All right, so great photos are really important for marketing your event. If you did an event last year and you have great photos you can use, that's great. But if this is your first year, then you can always use these photos for next year. Also, before I go over this, the Drive Electric Earth Day website does have a media page where you can use photos from other past events, as long as you just credit the photographer. And so it's important to take good event photos. As Noah mentioned, faraway group shots are not very helpful because it's hard to tell what the event is. And, you always want to show people having a good time. So make sure you have pics of vehicles, but that are close up and really make the vehicle look exciting. Make sure you can see people's faces and that they're smiling and look happy. And cute is also very good. So in the bottom picture, we have an example of kind of two generations, you know, the old generation and the new, both standing in front of an EV. It's a really iconic picture and a really cute picture. Also, you know, don't be afraid to ask people to pose for pictures. You know, most people are happy to do so, and you'll get a great picture. Another idea too is if you want to do a dash cam, or you know, what we call the instant torque face. So as people are test driving an EV, you know, try to capture their face when they experience the instant torque. All right, so a tip on photos: privacy is really important. Always ask permission to take someone's picture and use it, even though it's a public event. You know, it's just a nice courtesy. Also, make sure you do not use photos showing children's faces unless you have a guardian's written permission. It's also important to post a sign: by participating in this event, you're giving us permission to use your photos. You know, this doesn't have to be an expensive printed sign. If you have a small budget, it can even just be on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that you post at your booth and maybe on the vehicles in your showcase. That's still really visible to attendees. And one thing to point out too is this photo on the right is an example of a bad photo. So you'll notice that everyone's faces are turned away from the camera, and the vehicle, you can't really tell if it's an electric vehicle. You don't see a charging plug or a sign that says, you know, I produce 0 emissions or something cute like that. And it's also, you know, the vehicle doesn't look very exciting. We don't have the doors open, the hood's up. So it doesn't look, it's not a very active picture. Also, Sierra Club does have stricter photo policies. So if you're part of a local chapter, you'll want to check with them. And Steph, I don't know if you want to say a few words about that.
Sorry, about what in particular?
Oh, so Sierra Club has some stricter photo policies.
Yeah, sorry. We do. So and just specifically if, you know, and this is generally a good idea. If you want to use someone's photo, make sure you get at least their verbal permission. Like, take a picture and then say, hey, this is a great picture of you. Maybe show it to them. Is it okay if we use this in the future? If they say no, then don't. Maybe even delete it so that they know that you're not going to use it, because nobody wants, you know, folks who are angry at the event because they didn't want their picture taken for possibly legitimate reasons that we don't know. And Sierra Club, and this is probably true much more widely as well, but do not use a photo of a child unless you have written permission. So.
Awesome, thanks so much. Okay, so as you're marketing your event, part of your outreach will probably be to dealers so they can showcase their EVs. You really want to share the value of the event when you're pitching the event to the dealer. Consider that from their perspective, they might be looking for name visibility and recognition, and they're also looking for potential customers. You know, you can still have a low pressure, no sales environment events with dealers present, but at the end of the day, they are looking to sell the cars. So if you can tell them that there will be lots of attendees there, that's really good. If you can somehow show that these attendees will be interested in purchasing a vehicle, or are very sustainability oriented and are really already interested in EVs, that's great to share with them. If you're able to provide them some name visibility, you know, maybe in your marketing, you can tag them or thank them for showing up. Or if you can do pop-up banners, that would be also very good. Also, some dealers may have special incentives for EVs. And if they don't already, if you're doing a workplace event, you can even ask that dealer and maybe connect them to the workplace and see if they can work out an incentive for employees who shop at that dealership. Also, you want to see if the dealer sells used EVs. So, don't only reach out to new dealers. There's lots of used lots with EVs, and they may not know how to sell them. So you can pitch that your event will bring an interested audience, and you'll have EV experts there to educate people, and it'll just increase the likelihood of selling those vehicles. Also, you may have to train the salesperson they send. A lot of dealerships aren't very knowledgeable about electric vehicles, or they may know the specifications of their vehicle, but they won't know a lot about charging networks in the area or like federal and state purchase incentives. So that's one thing you can actually pitch to them, is that this is an opportunity for you to educate their potential customers. And it's good to note that Fridays, Saturday, and Sundays are critical days for a dealership. So those are their busiest days. It can be more difficult to get them to your event if it's on one of those days. So if that's a real concern, you can consider doing a weekday event for a few hours in the evening. Or if you're doing a workplace event during the week, it should be a lot easier to get a dealer. And you always want to confirm the night before and the morning of the event. Dealers' inventory is changing very often, so they may confirm they can come. They may confirm they can come in advance, a week before, but that may change the day before the event. All right, so post-event, still good things you can do to market your event. Collect and save photos, data, and stories. Numbers can be really powerful. If you can show, if you can have an anecdote about someone who came to your event, learned about EVs, and was inspired to purchase one, that's a really great media hook that you can send in your press release. Also collect the number of test drives, number of volunteers, even Electric Auto Association counts the number of conversations they had. And that's a really important metric that's pretty easy to capture if you just have all of your volunteers know to keep that in mind throughout the event. And definitely save any signed photo releases. So after your event, definitely send a post-event press release. As I said before, if they didn't cover your event, they might still cover it afterward. All right, and some other ideas are to invite local elected and public officials. So you can connect with local officials by visiting their office or by attending a town hall meeting. It's really good to get creative when you're trying to reach someone who is really busy and has a lot of people giving them feedback. You might have to get creative about how to reach them. And in person is always the best way to connect with someone and really show them the value of spending time at your event. You can also reach out to your local utility. Electric vehicles are, they provide the fuel for electric vehicles. So they should be pretty interested in promoting them. Also, if you have a police department or other government agency that maybe got their first electric vehicle or has a sustainability program they want to promote, they may be interested in attending your event and helping you promote it. So to the right, we have a picture of a city captain who got a proclamation. And a proclamation is, when your mayor or governor declares a certain period as a month or a time period for EV education in your city or state. These are a great way to connect with local officials, and it's a great way to spur them to move EV policy forward. Because EVs are still an early, technology, let's say, and they're still being adopted and haven't been adopted widely. It's important for cities to offer some incentives if they can, or even just install more charging stations so that people are more comfortable driving electric. All right, and so here we have some ideas from City Captain Jim McCarthy from Diamond Bar. And I reached out to him for some clever, kind of interesting ideas he's used to market his event. And one way is to recognize someone or a group at your event. If you award them for their efforts in EVs or sustainability, everyone loves an award, and that may encourage them to promote your event through their network. Also invite other companies and other green groups that may be relevant to your EV display. And if you have local cities' cable channel announcements or a city magazine, you can reach out to that magazine, ask the event to be featured, or even ask the city to be a sponsor and give them a space or a booth. When promoting your event, the more people you can connect with, the wider your outreach will be. Also, the day of the event, it's really good to have a banner at a key intersection where cars stop. So, drawing people to your event if they have time. You want to make the message brief with big letters, and if you can, make the date changeable so you can reuse it for future events. Also, if your local paper or magazine has an auto section, that's a great audience. People who are interested in cars, may not know a lot about EVs yet, but they may like to learn more. And some language that really resonates with people is that EVs save you time and money. The sustainability aspect, the clean air is good, but people are first and foremost interested in saving money and saving time. So you really want to use that language on social media and in your advertising. You can also promote HOV lane access, which is also really important to people, especially in traffic areas, especially in California. All right, we're moving a little bit away from the marketing as we end our webinar here. So I just wanted to remind people of some general event safety tips. Make sure to create clear pedestrian pathways in areas with moving vehicles, and that the event is accessible to people with disabilities. You can check out the full safety tips on the website. All right, and Drive Electric Earth Day does offer a lot of resources. So we have lots of templates on the resources page for marketing your event and reaching out to public officials. We'll also be sending out event kits with a vinyl banner and educational materials, and you'll be able to request that starting next week, and we'll send out an announcement. If your event is registered on the website, we'll be sending press contacts by email. Right, and also if you're having trouble recruiting EVs to be at your event, you can definitely reach out to myself or the Electric Auto Association. We do have a large network of EV drivers that we'd be happy to call on and try to support your event. All right, so next steps, visit the website, find an event near you, or register to organize one. We encourage you to sign up for any of our organizations for news about EVs and ways to take action in your community. And this is the process for registering an event, and I'm including this just because it does require a few steps. So I'm hoping this will clarify it. But you first use your name and email, then put your country, state, and city, and you'll see a list of nearby events. And then when you scroll down, you'll see the button to organize a new event. Okay, so we're going to address people's questions now. And feel free to write down these emails. If you have any questions, you can email me after the webinar. But I'm going to start going through the questions we received so far. So one question, is there a template available for a flyer? There definitely is on the resources page. And we're actually in the process of updating it to be a little more visually appealing. So if you want something a little different, please just email me. All right. So one question we have, can you target Facebook groups like a Tesla owners group or Tesla users group? Noah or Steph, do you have any experience with that?
In terms of paid social media advertising, I know that you can target groups that you are organizing. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if you can target a specific group with paid advertising, but I mean, if you join the group, you can post in that group, certainly.
Awesome, thanks. All right, so our next question is, are there special offers or free offers for print collateral like banners, flyers, and stickers? So we will be offering free event resources. We'll be offering banners and printed materials. If you have an event on the website, a link will appear at the top of your page, of your online event page, in the Notes for City Captains section, and that's where you'll be able to order those free materials. And we'll send out an email when that opens next week. So one question, can you provide us with a link on pre-written articles that we can use in local media from Plugin America or Sierra Club? I'll have to look into that. That's a great idea, and I'll talk with our social media team at Plugin America, see if we can draft up some article templates.
I will also mention that we'll be putting out a press release in the weeks leading up to Drive Like a Thursday, and you can certainly use that as well. That will be on the Deed website as well as the Plugin America website, and I'm pretty sure the Sierra Club website as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and that's definitely something you can send as an article to. If you're part of a larger event, they can use information from that press release because it will talk a bit about the benefits of EVs, I'm sure. All right, so we have a comment here. Another way to secure photo permission is to have it on a registration page for sign up as a disclaimer. So that's that's interesting. If you have like a tablet or even just a paper sign up sheet at your event, you can include a disclaimer at the bottom, maybe. That'll help. And another question, so what's the URL for people to RSVP to an event? So every online event page has its own unique URL. And if you log into the website, go to the account tab, and then navigate to your event page, you can just copy the URL of that event page. And then you can use that in any of your promotions. Oh, so we have one question. One thing that's helpful for event organizers is a checklist with items to keep in mind. So we did recently add a checklist kind of like that. Under the resources page, under EV Ride and Drive, we have a project plan template. It's specifically for ride and drives, but you can definitely modify that with any other tasks for your event, and we hope that'll be helpful. Okay, so we have what is your experience using Nextdoor to promote any best practices? I actually haven't used that, but that may be a great resource. So for anyone who doesn't know, Nextdoor is an app where you are able to connect with your neighbors in kind of an online chat room, and you can only access the Nextdoor in your local area if you send them some information confirming that you actually live in that area. So that may be a great way to promote the event to your neighbors. Also, this is an interesting and very relevant question. Any thoughts about how coronavirus could impact our April events? So we don't have any official recommendations on this, but I would keep this in mind, and if you can, really do a lot of extra marketing this year, because many people may want to stay home and may not be going to as many events this year. Yeah, so that's one thing to consider, is that the turnout may be a bit lower, so you'll want to push extra hard in your marketing efforts. And if you're concerned about safety, maybe just have some hand sanitizer at the registration table to accommodate people. Okay, so that's all the questions we have. The recording of this webinar and the slides will be available after this. I'll send it out in an email to everyone who registered for the webinar, and it'll also be posted on the Drive Electric Earth Day website. Thank you so much to everyone who joined. I hope you found this helpful, and definitely email me or Electric Auto Association if you have any questions.